Hey, Commons LA Church family, Pastor Devin here on the 20th of March. Wanted to give a really quick update because we've had some significant changes in this coronavirus outbreak over the last 24 hours. Specifically, we have been given the order on both the state level and the citywide level to remain safely at home, I believe is the phrase that's been used, but it's a nice way of putting lockdown. The phrase basically meaning an order has been given that we cannot leave our homes except for absolutely urgent needs. This order has been given so that we would seek to put a stop to the spread of the coronavirus outbreak that we find ourselves in, and now the numbers have continued to increase as we expected them to in the city of Los Angeles. What does that mean for our gatherings moving forward? Up until this point, we have left it very much up to the consciences of those in community and on Sundays, as insofar as we are gathering safely and wisely and underneath the guidance levels that the government has been putting out for us. Up until this point, we were requested to not gather in groups of more than 10, but now we have a strict guideline that has been given out about not even gathering at that number. So rather than leaving it up to one another's consciences, we are going to say that for the next few weeks, while this order is in effect, March 31st was the date that was given specifically, we are going to be putting all of our gatherings into a digital format. So for Sunday, we were going to have home gatherings where we would, for those who felt comfortable in their conscience to wisely meet together in homes, allow for gatherings of around 10 or fewer to meet, and then have a digital option for people to call into those meetings and be present that way. Now we are moving it all online. And so there are a couple of things with this. First, some of you are grieving the reality now that we cannot meet in person, that you have been so fed in the midst of this isolation by meeting together as God's people in person, and you're grieving, and I want us to grieve together. It's right that we grieve not being able to meet. There will be consequences and tangible realities that change for us by this additional degree of isolation as God's people. On the other hand, some of you might feel a bit of relief over the fact that we can't gather because you believe it's the best way that we can love our neighbor in your own conscience. And I want to invite you to make sure that you're not glad that the church cannot gather. And I want to make sure that we're not in this place of back and forth, who's right, who's wrong in the midst of this. We should all be grieving together, regardless of where your conscience lies. And there's a previous video talking about conscience in Romans 14 on this topic. I want to make sure that we're all first grieving. It's okay to think this is best, but we ought to be grieving the reality that we all need to now live in the purely digital realm together. So let's be grieving together and let's move forward connected well as best we can. Secondly, I want to make sure that in the midst of this declaration, we are not being conformed to the pattern of this world as Romans 12:2 urges us, because lumped into all of these prohibitions on gathering, the church is being viewed fundamentally as a non-essential gathering. That our gatherings on Sundays and that our gatherings in homes are viewed as non-essential and must cease. That is not true in the reality of what Jesus Christ himself says and what the scriptures say. The church must gather. We are called to it. We need one another physically as the body of Jesus. And so I want us to not be conformed to that pattern of thinking, even though over the next few weeks we are laying down that right to gather out of love and obedience to the governing officials above us. It's not clearly them telling us not to practice our faith, but we need to not be conformed to what is subtly being spoken, okay? Lastly, for the next 3 weeks, if you are in a missional community, your leaders will distribute a link for our home gatherings to digitally be taking place. If you are not a part of a missional community, I want you to right now pull out your phone. Okay, pull out your phone. I'm waiting. All right, and then in the text app, I want you to type in this number. If you have the TCLA line, you can just pull that up. But the TCLA line number is 424-442-0774. Again, that is 424-442-0774. And if one of us has time, we might digitally place a stamp over this video with that number right here above my hand. What I want you to text to that number is home gatherings. Text the words home gatherings to that number, and we will connect you via link to a home gathering that's taking place in and across the digital sphere, so that you can participate too in the life of our church together in this crazy time. Your faith is something to be pouring and pressing into in this moment, especially while we find ourselves in isolation. Now that there's a helicopter over me, I'm going to take that as my cue to exit this video. I love you, church. Reach out if you have any questions. Press into your faith in this time. Be connected to one another. I love you.